Panthers stole the show in Jacksonville on Wednesday, and the fact that neither of them plays offensive line is the entire story of Carolina's preseason. 4 days earlier in Buffalo, the Panthers' first-team offense took the field for 3 series and walked off with 0 first downs, while Bryce Young finished 3 of 5 for 18 yards in a 29-14 loss. You are about to get the full picture of where this roster stands 24 days before the opener, and by the end, you will know which problems are real and which are August noise. Dan Morgan spent this offseason like a general manager who had seen enough. He handed Jalen Phillips 4 years and $120 million with $80 million guaranteed. Then gave Devin Lloyd 3 years and $45 million on the same day, and the combined bill on those 2 defenders came to $165 million. He spent the 19th overall pick on Georgia tackle Monroe Freeling. Then on August 17, he made one more move at a position nobody expected him to touch this late. And that signing says something uncomfortable about a room Carolina swore it believed in. The defense has its own version of this problem. Carolina finished last season with the worst pressure rate in the NFL, just 26.2% of dropbacks. Morgan spent real money to fix it, and then Carolina lost its starting edge rusher on the first day of training camp. J.C. Horn is a first-team All-Pro. Trayvon Moehrig started 2 separate scuffles on Wednesday. After telling Joe Person of The Athletic beforehand that if it gets hostile, it gets hostile. The real question is whether a team that won the NFC South at 8-9 built something or banked a soft division, so subscribe, because that is the question we answer here every week. Here is the part the Buffalo box score does not tell you. Carolina played that game without both projected starting tackles, because Ike Ekwonu is still working back from the patellar tendon he ruptured in the wild-card loss, and Taylor Moton has been out since doctors found a blood clot in his left lung in late June. Carolina also held out both starting guards in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. That is 4 of 5 projected starting linemen watching in street clothes. Young said afterward that it was obviously not the start we wanted, not the drives we wanted. Let me be fair here, because that number looks worse than the situation is. Take Young's 2025 season and pull out the 448-yard game he threw against Atlanta in November, which set a franchise record. The other 15 starts average out to roughly 171 passing yards apiece. That is not a quarterback failing in isolation. Pro Football Focus graded him 26th out of 43 qualified quarterbacks last season, which is mediocre, not disqualifying. And he did it behind a line that ranked 23rd in pass block win rate and 29th in pressure rate allowed. So count the problems honestly. Carolina lost its starting center when Cade Mays signed with Detroit. It lost Austin Corbett to Buffalo and Yosh Nijman to retirement inside the same 3 weeks. It replaced all of that with Luke Fortner, a 5th-round rookie in Sam Hecht, and a first-round tackle who started exactly 1 season in college. That is 3 new bodies on a 5-man unit protecting a quarterback the franchise just committed to with a 5th-year option. And everything this offense wants to run depends on whether that math works. Rewind to January 10 at Bank of America Stadium, because everything Carolina has done since traces back to that afternoon. The Panthers had already won the NFC South at 8-9, their first division title since the Super Bowl 50 season of 2015, and their first playoff appearance since 2017. They fell behind the Rams 14-0, climbed back, and took a 31-27 lead with 2 minutes and 39 seconds remaining. Matthew Stafford answered with a 19-yard touchdown to Colby Parkinson with 38 seconds on the clock. The Rams won 34-31, and Carolina's season ended right there. Ekwonu did not finish that game, and the diagnosis set the offseason agenda before free agency even opened. Morgan moved before the new league year did. Phillips and Lloyd both agreed on March 10, and Rasheed Walker signed on March 14. Then on April 23, Carolina used the 19th overall pick on Freeling and spent the 49th pick on Texas Tech defensive tackle Lee Hunter, whose 33.5 tackles for loss led every defensive tackle in the country since 2023. Then the calendar started taking things back. In late June, doctors found the clot in Moton's lung, and Carolina opened camp without either starting tackle. On July 23, the first day of training camp, Nick Scorton went down in team drills and was carted off in tears with a torn ACL, ending the season of a 21-year-old who had tied Derrick Brown for the team lead with 5 sacks as a rookie. By the time Carolina reached Buffalo on August 15, this roster looked nothing like the one Morgan drew up in March. Grade the departures, because they explain the current mess better than any practice report does. Cade Mays left for Detroit, and he had not allowed a sack since 2024. Austin Corbett signed a 1-year deal in Buffalo. Yosh Nijman turned down a reported 2-year offer from Carolina and retired outright, which caught the building off guard because he was the fallback plan at left tackle. 3 linemen with real starting experience walked out the same door in the same stretch, and the replacement plan was 1 free agent, 1 first-rounder, and a 5th-round rookie. On offense, the bigger name was Rico Dowdle, who posted back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and signed a 2-year deal with Pittsburgh. Carolina handed his role to H. Dillon on a 1-year deal. Andy Dalton was traded to Philadelphia for a conditional 2027 7th-round pick, which closed the book on the veteran bridge quarterback era in Carolina. On defense, A'Shawn Robinson was released to save $10 million against the cap. Christian Roseboom signed with Tampa Bay, and DJ Wanham went to Detroit. Here is the honest grade. The defensive departures were survivable, and the Phillips and Lloyd money more than covers them. The Dowdle exit was a choice, and it looks worse every week Chuba Hubbard spends in the training room with a hamstring. Though Dave Canales said he is very confident he'll be ready for Game 1. The offensive line exodus is the one that could cost Carolina games, because continuity is the one thing a line cannot buy in August, and this group has never taken a meaningful snap together. Now the arrivals, and start with the $165 million Morgan committed on a single Monday in March. Phillips got 4 years and $120 million with $80 million guaranteed. Arriving off a 2025 season split between Miami and Philadelphia, in which he ranked 9th among edge rushers with 73 quarterback pressures. Lloyd got 3 years and $45 million with $25 million guaranteed. And he came over from Jacksonville as a second-team All-Pro who intercepted 5 passes and returned one of them 99 yards for the longest pick 6 in the league last season. The offensive additions were quieter and considerably cheaper. Rasheed Walker arrived from Green Bay having started 48 of 52 games, which is the exact profile a team wants when its own tackles have no timeline. Luke Fortner signed to play center, and since he began his career in Jacksonville, Wednesday doubled as a homecoming. Pickett replaced Dalton as the backup. John Mechie III joined on a 1-year deal, and that connection is personal, because Mechie caught 96 passes for 1,142 yards at Alabama in 2021. The same season Bryce Young won the Heisman Trophy. The last arrival is the one that says the most. Carolina made Darren Waller official on August 17, and he agreed to the 1-year deal on August 12, the 9-year anniversary of the day he got sober. He turns 34 on September 13, the same afternoon Carolina opens against Chicago. He caught 6 touchdowns in only 9 games for Miami last season. The Carolina tight end room of Tommy Tremble, Jatavion Sanders, and Mitchell Evans combined for 610 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns across all of 2025. And that is why a 33-year-old walked into the building in the 3rd week of August. Carolina made 7 selections in April, and the class narrows fast once you sort it by who actually plays. Freeling went 19th overall out of Georgia and is starting at right tackle right now. Hunter went 49th overall out of Texas Tech and sits in the nose tackle rotation. Chris Brazzell II went 83rd overall out of Tennessee and is already on injured reserve. Cornerback Will Lee III, center Sam Hecht, safety Zakee Wheatley, and linebacker Jackson Kuwach closed the class on day 3 at picks 129, 144, 151, and 227. The case for this class is Freeling, and it is stronger than a rookie tackle usually earns. He measures 6 feet 7 inches and 315 pounds, and he allowed only 7 pressures at left tackle in his final college season. The number that stands out most is discipline. Freeling was penalized 3 times in 1,579 offensive snaps at Georgia, which per ESPN research is the fewest of any SEC lineman with at least 1,500 snaps since 2023. On Wednesday, he held up in one-on-one work against Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. And Canales said Freeling protected the pocket the way he is supposed to. The case against is that the class thinned out behind him, and one injury already gutted it. Brazzell was supposed to be the vertical threat this offense has not had, and he is gone for the year. Hunter is a run stopper on a team that ranked 25th in rush defense by expected points added, which is useful, except Carolina needed pass rush more and did not draft an edge in any round. When Scorton tore his ACL in July, nothing in this class could replace him. And the burden fell on Patrick Jones II and Princely Umanmielen instead. Now the part everybody clipped. Carolina's offense could not move the ball against Jacksonville's starting defense through the first 2 team periods. And then Bryce Young started throwing it downfield, and the day flipped. Young hit Tetairoa McMillan in the end zone after McMillan beat cornerback Jabbar Muhammad in 11-on-11 work. He came back later and dropped a crossing route into McMillan at the tip of the goal line for a contested score. In the red zone period alone, the two connected for 3 catches and 2 touchdowns, including a 20-yard score and a 25-yard completion caught over 2 defenders. That is the pairing that stole the show, and McMillan has earned the benefit of the doubt. He went 8th overall in 2025, started all 17 games, and caught 70 passes for 1,014 yards and 7 touchdowns on 122 targets. All 3 of those totals led every rookie in football. He became the first Panther since Cam Newton in 2011 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, taking 41 of the 50 first-place votes. Afterward, McMillan said, "Bryce just puts it into a spot where only I can get it. I want to be careful with practice reports, because they are not games and the pads only tell you so much." Jacksonville's tight end scored 3 touchdowns in that same red zone period, which remains a problem Ejiro Evero has not solved, since his defense has allowed 22 touchdowns to tight ends over the last 3 seasons. One correction on what has been circulating, because accuracy matters here. The pass breakup on Brian Thomas Jr. came from Mike Jackson, not from J.C. Horn. And Nick Scott had the interception off Trevor Lawrence. Getting the name right is the difference between analysis and noise. So where does Carolina actually sit? The top of this roster is real, and it is not particularly close. Horn is a first-team All-Pro coming off 5 interceptions in 16 games on a contract worth $100 million over 4 years. McMillan is the reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year. Derek Brown anchors the interior, Moehrig sets the temperature, and Phillips and Lloyd are the most expensive help this defense has been given in years. Below that line, the depth is thinner than a division winner should carry into September. The conditional stack is simple enough. If Hunt and Lewis stay healthy and Freeling holds up at right tackle, this offense clears the 18.3 points per game it managed last season, and Young looks like a quarterback worth extending. If either guard misses time, the interior falls to bodies who were not on the roster in January. The biggest variable is not Young and it is not McMillan. It is whether 5 linemen who have barely practiced together can hold a pocket for 3 seconds against a schedule that includes 6 games against 2025 playoff teams. My projection is 9 wins and 8 losses, a 1-game improvement, and a second straight NFC South title won by margin rather than by dominance. Here is the part worth arguing about. I think this team is still a year away from a winning record, and it has nothing to do with the quarterback, because the offensive line is the ceiling, and Carolina rebuilt it with 3 strangers. Roster cuts land Sunday, August 30 at 6 p.m. Eastern, and the tight end decisions nobody in that building wants to make are coming. Tell me below whether you trust this line, and stay subscribed because we break this roster down every week.